shall make the woman drink the water. And when he has made her drink the water, then if she has defiled herself and has broken faith with her husband, the water that brings the curse shall enter into her and cause bitter pain, and her womb shall swell and her thigh shall fall away. Again, exactly what those mean, we're not sure. Okay? But it's not good, whatever it is that's happening here. And it says, but if the woman has not defiled herself and is clean, then she shall be free and shall conceive children. So it would seem that this bitter water, based on what we're reading here, would cause if there is a child that's come from this union, it would cause this child to be aborted, so to speak, or not to happen. So, this is the law in cases of jealousy, when a wife, though under her husband's authority, goes astray and defiles herself. Or when the spirit of jealousy comes over a man and he is jealous of his wife. Then he shall set the woman before the Lord, here again, and the priest shall carry out for her all this Torah. The man shall be free from iniquity, but the woman shall bear her iniquity. Now, I know everybody's going to say this because every time we come to this text, we get the same thing. Could the woman accuse the man and bring him to the priest and have this done? And we don't have any instance where that takes place. By the way, we don't have any instance in the scriptures where this is carried out at all. We have no narrative where this is implemented, okay? Where we can actually look at an example. Now, I will say this. If you go back to Exodus, can you think of a situation where there's something similar to this in the book of Exodus? I'm giving you the clue of the book where it's at.
What do you mean, all the Jews drink the gold?
Yes. Okay, so let's unpack that. We have the golden calf. Moses grinds up the golden calf, takes the powder from this gold, puts it into water, and makes them drink it. Right? So there's some similarities there, and it's interesting that at Mount Sinai is where they become wedded to him and become married, so to speak, metaphorically again, to God. The nation of Israel is married to him. So in their infidelity, imagine it this way. Moses is up on Mount Sinai getting the covenant marriage document. Can you imagine a couple, a woman having an affair underneath the chuppah while she's getting married to her husband? Another lover coming up and her having an affair with this lover while she's right in the chuppah with her husband, the guy she's getting ready to marry. Well, while Moses was up in uniting the couple in matrimony, so to speak, the bride is at the base of the mountain whoring after other gods. So Moses comes down, he grinds this golden calf in the powder and makes them drink it. Right? And then we have 3,000 eventually that die. So there's some interesting parallels there if you look at that narrative with this narrative. But we don't have any individual that actually has to do this or implement this.
Not recorded anyway.
No, not recorded for us. But it's an interesting text to show us that there's a high value placed on marriage. That fidelity within marriage is an extremely high value that God places on the couple. That they stay in fidelity to each other. Yes?
And you can see that today. I mean, everybody thinks it's so old-fashioned, archaic, but you see situations where there's divorces, and then there's because of cheating, and then kids are affected by it. So, I mean, there's a good reason for that. I'm not saying that it shouldn't be one-sided, but the whole point is you don't do this. You got to stay married and trust each other. Right, and that's why. That's why I think you see such a high value being placed upon this, because the effect that it has on everybody, the ripple down effect it has on everybody is huge. It affects everybody in negative ways when there's infidelity. And so children can be born out of wedlock. It breaks up marriages, on and on it goes. And the ripple effect that has on the fabric of people is huge. And so we can't underestimate how important fidelity is within marriage. Look, you take vows that you stay with those. So until death do you part. Okay? So
Very soon. Now I want to get into any other questions on this particular? Yes.
Gary mentioned, and I think it's a point of order of interest, that if the man took the wife into this process and it turns out she didn't cheat because her bowels didn't swell, that she was able then to turn and use that as a reason to divorce him. Have you?
It doesn't say that here.
No. It's in the Talmud.
Yeah, okay, that would be Talmudic. Yeah,
Okay.
they might have done that in Talmudic times.
Okay.
Yes, that's possibly. I think that would be the case. But we never have anybody that we, again, even in the Talmud. I don't even see there that we have a place where it's implemented.
Even in the New Testament, they bring the lady to Jesus caught in adultery. They don't take her, do anything like this.
Right. And by the way, he's not a priest. Yeshua is not considered a priest. They're bringing
That's
her.
true.
They're bringing him.
Right.
They're bringing her to him for a halakhic opinion, but not for a. He can't stand in judgment. Yeah.
But even in that case, so she's caught in the act, where's the man?
Right.
He was not brought, just the woman.
Right.
So it's like, okay, already
You're
you
supposed to
broke
bring them both and stone them
I
both.
see.
Yeah.
Right.
So you let the man go free. You're already screwed up there.
Yeah. So there's a whole lot of. I've had people say, by the way, this particular text in John. I don't know if you guys know this or not. Because it was viewed as the view was that Yeshua was kind of being lenient here, overly lenient, by many of those who copied Scripture. So within the book of John, this narrative moved to other places, and at one point in the manuscript, in the copies of the manuscripts, this particular narrative moved to the book of Luke. Okay, because it's only found in John now. But this particular narrative was considered scandalous enough that because it seemed like he was being light on adultery. He wasn't. If you listen to what Yeshua says to her, at the very end he says to her, "Hey, go and sin no more."
Cut it out.
He's not saying that she didn't sin. In fact, what he does, he actually implements the Torah to say, hey, if you're going to, if you guys are going to ask me a halakhic decision, then we're going to follow the Torah. We're going to follow it to the T. But in that case, where's the man? In that case, here's the thing: the witnesses have to be cross-examined. You have to have the witnesses come forward, and the Torah says that the witnesses have to be the ones to throw the stones first. So until the witnesses throw stones, nobody else can throw a stone. So he says, okay, fine, let's interrogate the witnesses. They're like, yeah, we don't want to be part of that. We don't want to be interrogated. So they drop their rocks, and he says to the woman, hey, he doesn't say to her, hey, you got off scot-free. I guess you didn't do anything wrong. He says to her, I'm paraphrasing here. You and I both know that had this gone to a Beit Din, you'd have been found guilty. You'd have been in hot water. So don't go and sin no more.
It's kind of like a suspended sentence.
Yeah, it's kind of we're commuting the sentence, but you and I both know that this you would have been in trouble.
Yeah.
Had all the procedural basis been touched. Yes.
I was thinking, and even when Yeshua was in there, there was so much other stuff going on that was sinning. Like you were just saying. So you're gonna put the law in motion for this one situation. But what about you who were messed up the temple selling stuff, or
right.
And so really, he, like you said, he wasn't thinking it was okay.
No.
But he said, look, there's he's thinking, man, where do I start? There's all this other stuff going on, and so
he's actually following the Torah. Yeshua's actually following the Torah.
Oh yeah, I'm saying he is, but the point is he's not saying this is worse than anything else.
And he's not lenient with sin.
Right.
He said, because he says to her, go and sin no more. But hey, if you're asking me how is the Torah being followed here, then okay, let's follow it.
Yeah.
Let's follow it. All right, let's go to chapter 6, Numbers chapter 6, important text. Let me ask you this question: what's the purpose of the Nazirite vow? What's the purpose of the Nazirite vow? Yes.
For the people to equate themselves as the priest, they can be almost at that level by making that same commitment.
Yeah, it allowed a person who was not a priest to participate as if in the culture and in the cult, so to speak, as if they were a priest without having to
without being a priest. Okay, they'd have to be a Cohen in order to take a Nazarite vow. We know that there were two types of Nazarite vows. There's lifetime Nazarite vows, and there are short-term Nazarite vows. Who are the two individuals in the Hebrew Scripture that we know took lifetime Nazarite vows? Samson. Who's the other? You may remember?
Elizabeth? Or?
No, not Elizabeth. That's apostolic. But Hebrew Scripture. Who took it? Who has a lifetime? You may remember?
I want to guess Elijah or Elijah.
No, actually Samuel.
Samuel, that's right, yeah.
Okay, Samuel has a lifetime Nazarite vow, and Samson. Now, interestingly enough, both of these were from their birth Nazarite, under Nazarite vow, which meant that their mother had to live with the rules of the Nazarite vow prior to their birth. Okay, so she's not allowed to have any, and we'll read here. All right, she has to live in this state. Look at chapter 6, verse 1. Speak to the people of Israel and say to them, when either a man or woman makes a special, by the way, man or woman, makes a special vow, the vow of a Nazarite, to separate himself to the Lord, he shall separate himself from wine and strong drink. He shall drink no vinegar made from wine or strong drink, and shall not drink any juice of grapes or eat grapes fresh or dry. All the days of his separation, he shall eat nothing that is produced by the grapevine, not even the seeds or the skins. Do you get the idea here? Everything related to the vines and the all that, none of that. Here it is. All the days of his vow of separation, no razor shall touch his head. What are the two things on the body that we can see that grow, that demonstrate time has passed? Hair and fingernails. Okay, so I can look at a person, we shave their head and then watch their hair grow. We can gauge about how long things have gone on. We can look at their hair and the length of it and tell, okay, it's a certain amount of time. So he says, all the days of the vow of separation, no razor shall touch his head. That's why Samson has extremely long hair. Until the time he is completed for which he separates himself to the Lord, he shall be holy. He shall let the locks of his hair of his head grow long. All the days that he separates himself to the Lord, he shall not go near a dead body. Not even for his father or for his mother, for brother or sister. If they die, he shall make himself unclean, because his separation to God is on his head. All the days of his separation he is holy to the Lord. And if a man dies very suddenly beside him, and he defiles his consecrated head, then he shall shave his head on the day of his cleansing. On the 7th day he shall shave it. On the 8th day he shall bring 2 turtle doves or 2 pigeons to the priest, to the entrance of the tent of meeting. And the priest shall offer one for a purification offering, and the other for a burnt offering. Some of your translations translate sin offering. He hasn't committed a sin. Here's one of those places where they use the word katat, and he hasn't sinned. What has happened is this. Let's say I'm in a Nazarite vow, and I'm standing around somebody, and all of a sudden they have a heart attack and they die on me. I didn't do anything wrong. I had no idea that they were going to stroke or a heart attack and die on me right in front of me. But that makes me unclean, because they're corpse, and now I'm corpse defiled.
Ritually unclean.
Virtually unclean. Ritually unclean,
yeah.
yes. And I haven't done anything wrong. I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't know they were going to die on me. So it's not like I went out and found these people. It just happened to be around them when they keeled over.
Only
He says this.
If you touch it.
Huh?
Only if you touch them.
No. If they die, if they're within a sphere, it's not even about touching them. Well, it does say that as well here in a moment. Yeah, you can't touch them either. He says here, so I'm continuing on here. He should consecrate his head the same day, verse 12, and separate himself to the Lord for the days of his separation, and bring a male lamb a year old for a guilt offering, but the previous period shall be void because his separation was defiled. And this is the law for the Nazarite, verse 13. When the time of his separation has been completed, he shall be brought to the entrance of the tent of meeting, and he shall bring his gift to the Lord, 1 male lamb a year old without blemish for a burnt offering, and 1 ewe lamb a year old without blemish as a purification offering, and 1 ram without blemish as a peace offering. And a basket of unleavened bread, loaves of fine flour mixed with oil, and unleavened wafers smeared with oil, and their grain offering and their drink offerings. And the priest shall bring them before the Lord, and offer his purification offering and his burnt offering. And he shall offer the ram as a sacrifice of peace offering to the Lord with the basket of unleavened bread. The priest shall offer also its grain offering and its drink offering. And the Nazarite shall shave his consecrated head at the entrance of the tent of meeting, and shall take the hair from his consecrated head and put it on the fire that is under the sacrifice of the peace offering. It's as if he's giving the time back to God. That's represented by the hair. And the priest shall take the shoulder of the ram when it is boiled, and one leavened loaf out of the basket of one leavened wafer, and shall put them on the hands of the Nazarite after he has shaved the hair of his consecration. And the priest shall wave them before a wave offering before the Lord. They are a holy portion for the priest, together with the breast that is waved and the thigh that is contributed. And after that the Nazarite may drink wine. This is the law of the Nazarite. But if he vows an offering to the Lord above his Nazarite vow, as he can afford, in exact accordance with the vow that he takes, that he shall do in addition to the law of the Nazarite. Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so if someone suddenly dies next to him, the time he's done is now invalid.
Invalid.
So
Yes.
is he now free from it, or does he start over?
No, he has to start over. He has to start over. So, like, let's say he had told the Lord, "I'm going to do 60 days," and he gets 30 days in, and somebody dies in his presence.
Mm-hmm.
That first 30 days is wiped out. He's got to go back and start all over. So you have to reset. You have to push the reset button.
And this sounds not simply just like mimicking the priesthood, but like the high priest. Because the high priest can't be around dead bodies.
Right, that's true. Yeah, it's more of the Kohen Hagadol, more in that category. Yeah, I would agree with you. More in that category. But the thing is, this you voluntarily did it.
Yeah.
So it's a voluntary thing, which means if you're going to enter into a Nazarite vow, you have to make preparation for the fact that somebody in your family may die while you are under this vow. Because you can't go and tend to them if you're under the vow.
Yeah.
And notice how many animals you have to bring this vow to completion. Now, go with me to Acts chapter 21. Acts chapter 21. Actually, I want to go to verse, first before we do that, I want to go to chapter 18 of Acts, to verse 18. Acts 18, verse 18. So this is the Apostle Paul. We're going to look at this one first. Most people don't understand what's going on here. You read right past this. It says this in verse 18. So Paul still remained a good while. Then he took leave of the brethren and sailed for Syria, and Priscilla and Aquila were with him. He had his hair cut off at Caesarea, for he had taken a vow. Okay? And he came to Ephesus and left them there, but he himself entered the synagogue and reasoned with the Jews. So why does it mention he cut his hair? He cut his hair for he had taken a vow. What are we talking about here? Anybody reading that would have said, oh, he was under a Nazarite vow. And it had come to completion. So he cut his hair, made the requisite offering. Okay? So that's why it mentions it, and most people would read right past that. But that goes back to Numbers chapter 6. Now, go over to chapter 21 and look at verse 26. Chapter 21, verse 26. Then Paul took the men, and the next day, having been purified with them, entered the temple to announce the expiration of the days of purification, at which time the offering should be made for each one of them. And we have to go back now to verse 17. Let's back up to verse 17. It says, and when he had come to Jerusalem, the brethren received us gladly. On the following day, Paul went in with us to Yaakov, and all the elders were present. When he had greeted them, he told in detail those things which God had done among the Gentiles through his ministry. And when they heard it, they glorified the Lord, and they said to him, you see, brother, how many myriads of Jews there are who have believed, and they are all zealous for the Torah. Not a problem. But they have been informed about you that you teach all the Jews who are among the Gentiles to forsake Moses. By the way, this kind of leads us to the understanding
that oftentimes the people Paul's addressing in his letters are really, really Jews living in diaspora communities.
Okay.
Most people read the letters of Paul and say, well, he's addressing Gentiles. I would say most of the time, the primary focus of his letters is to Jews living in these diaspora communities, as evidenced by what we're seeing here. He says this, because they're the ones that have the problem. To forsake Moses, saying that they ought not to circumcise their children or to walk according to the customs. What then? Question mark. The assembly must certainly meet, for they will hear that you have come. Therefore do what we tell you. We have 4 men who have taken a vow. What vow? Nazarite vow. Take them and be purified with them, and pay their expenses so they may shave their heads, and that all may know that those things of which they were informed concerning you are nothing, but that you yourself also walk orderly and keep the Torah. Okay, so Paul does such. Because from a Hebraic perspective, it's not what you tell people that you believe, it's what you do that demonstrates what you believe. Belief isn't what you say, belief is what you do. So Paul could have called a press conference and said, look, all this stuff that they're saying about me is not true. I actually do believe that the Jewish people should keep the Torah, and that the Torah is still valid. Instead, what he does is, he goes to the temple and says, hey, 4 guys are getting ready to come, which by the way tells you something about these 4 guys. What happened? Really bad planning. Or something had happened, because they should have known that their vow was coming due, and that they needed to have this mega sacrifice. Look at Numbers chapter 6. It's a mega sacrifice. So Paul puts out a lot of money to pay for these animals for these 4 guys so they can bring their vow to a completion. That tells me that pretty important thing here. Yes?
Are you inferring that these guys didn't have it because Paul was told to pay for them?
Yeah, I'm inferring that.
Okay.
Why? Because the Torah says, I mean, the way it's reading, you have to provide it. But it didn't say that somebody else could provide it for you.
Right. And if Yaakov was trying to make a point of it, it's beyond just fulfilling your own, but pay for everybody. Kind of that put your money where your mouth is.
Exactly.
As opposed to just being kind and helping these guys out that couldn't pay for it on their own.
Yeah, I'm inferring that they didn't have that.
But it could be either way.
Could be either way. Yeah, I wouldn't argue either way. I mean, but if you're going to come to a completion of it, they should have already had.
Right. But there's nothing that says that they didn't have it.
True.
Other than him paying for it.
Other than him paying for it. Yeah. So maybe they had it and they just didn't. He's like, look, yeah. You guys keep it and let me pay for it.
All the times I buy you lunch, I'm sure you could have afforded it, but.
Wow. See how he is?
You buy him lunch?
Yeah.
He supplies me books, so it's a good experience.
Yeah, I give him books, he gives me lunch, it's all good.
He knows you can afford the books.
And he knows I can afford the books, but he buys them anyway.
Those dollar givers.
Yeah, so, yeah. I think he gets a better deal. So, this Nazarite vow is huge because it allowed the average Israelite to experience what it would be like to live in a priestly status. You can do it voluntarily. The ones we see in the scriptures, as far as Samuel and Samson, this happens before they're born. Their parents are told, you're going to raise this child to be a Nazarite for life. So even before we get to the in utero situation, the mothers have to, no wine for the mother. She has to live this while they're in utero. Yes?
So here's the other question. Don't the Levites have wine libations, and isn't that part of it? Wine offerings, or am I thinking something else?
Yeah, there are wine offerings. There are wine libation offerings. Yes.
Right.
But
so they don't get to drink them?
They don't get to drink it. They pour it out. Pour it out on the ground. It's like red wine's like blood.
Right.
So it's like you're pouring it out as if it were blood going back to the ground. So they're not allowed to drink it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when it comes to the end of it, like for Samson, right? Well, his mother had to cut her hair.
No, she doesn't have to cut her hair. She cut her hair. Just she's not, as she's raising him, she doesn't cut his hair. She makes sure he doesn't have his hair cut. So you remember with Samson, there's this whole thing there's this whole issue. He's under a lifetime Nazarite vow. What happens?
hey, what's the source of your strength, you know? And obviously the source of his strength is God, but he's under this vow, and so, you know, they're trying to find out, well, he says, look, if you bind me with these new ropes, you know, that'll, you know, and he busts the ropes, and, you know, finally he says, well, you know, if you cut my hair, so they shave his head, poke out his eyes, and what nobody realized was, in this whole process, his hair was growing back out again. So all this time, his hair is growing out, and by the way, Samson doesn't take this vow seriously. What does he do? He goes into the carcass of a lion, because he finds a honeycomb in there. He's walking along the road, he finds this dead lion, mountain lion, and he sees bees swarming around. He just scoops in there and he grabs some honey. He takes the jawbone of an ass, which again, that's a carcass, and whips 1,000 Philistines with it. But so Samson doesn't take. Remember, I said the judges aren't great guys. We said judges, they're warriors. They're very they're battle tested, but they're not moral exemplars. He touches the carcass of a lion, he touches the jawbone of an ass, he lets his hair get cut. You know, he tells his parents, "Hey, that Philistine woman, you know, I want that Philistine woman for my wife. Get her for me." So, you know, this is not a morally strong individual. Yeah.
And I hope this is a stupid question, but that